record this computer. All right, that way I get multiple videos. All right, so we all understand the concept of playing cards. So the project is going to be to create 4 face cards. And so you think Jack, Queen, King, and Ace. Those are your 4 face cards. And then design the back of the card. Now, the creative part of this is you don't have to stick with the Jack, Queen, King, and Ace. You need to stick to the idea of the values and how the basic card is laid out, because you don't want to create a situation where you're having to explain too much in just a playing card set. Also, you don't have to consider that you can change the sets, because we all know the sets. We know the club, the spade, the heart, and the diamonds. Those are the 4 sets in a standard American playing card set. You can change that. So, I mean, I've had people in the past do the elements, because they were all Avatar, the Airbender fans. And it's air, water, fire, and earth. Pretty predictable, but whatever. I had one girl years ago, I think it was like the first time I ever did this project with students. She did player cards, and it was like she had the OG as the king, and it was like, and she designed it, and it was very culturally specific, but it was very funny, and it was it was very enjoyable to watch her go through it, because she hadn't really expressed herself creatively at that point. It was all pretty much assignments. And so she really ran with the football. Now, so I included in the assignment and here, a downloadable template. Now, let's talk about how this works. So this is a template that I've got from the company, and it's a PSD. They had one for Illustrator, and they had one for something else. I don't remember off the top of my head. But so I had this, I have the hidden layer, and then it's got add your design. So that, they laid it out for us. Now what we have here is, this is the safe area. Keep your text and other important information in here. Cut line. This is where it actually gets cut out, okay? So this is where the edge of the card is. The red line is where the graphics will all go. So you want them to stay inside the red box. Bleed is if I want my graphic to extend outside of the cut area, so I want it to go all the way out to the edge and not have that little white banner around the outside, I will put my bleed, my image outside of that. So as an example. Now, one of the things that I'd like to see with this is your using control mechanisms. So I'm going to start with the ace card. And now I'm going to keep all the ace card information in the ace card folder. But now I can go in before that. I'll go here and I'll make a new folder. I can create king. What? Yeah, she's fine. Queen card. And then Jack card. And then lastly, back of the card. Now, there's 2 other cards. They're not as important, but they are the number cards. And that's mostly just to show what your number cards are going to look like. So if I have 7, I'll show what I'm going to have the 7 look like or whatever. Now, part of this project is also, if I want to create different things or different sets. Like the ace would be one set, the king would be another set, the queen would be another set, and they each would have their own set. So you have to have it 4 sets. And you would just have each one be something different. Does that make sense? So it's like a king of hearts, ace of spades, queen of clubs, and jack of diamonds. So now my first suggestion would be, of course, to make, to do the drawings by hand, if at all possible, because then you get that sense, but then you can bring them into Photoshop and clean them up. So I've got this. I can go in now. I can take this layer. I can decrease the opacity of it. So it's not taking up the majority of my thing. Look at my photos. All right. I've used this one before, so. Did that work? I don't know. Everything stopped. Okay. I did the same thing I did last time. I opened it in the wrong one. All right, so select all. Now let's say this is one of my drawings or something, and I want to use it for the back of my card or whatever. So what I'm talking about with this bleed line is if I wanted the graphic to go all the way up to the edge and out, I would make sure that the graphic here went outside of that black line. Now, basically what they're saying is anything that you put past that black line, past that cut edge, is getting cut off. But the graphic's going to run right up to the edge. All right. But now you might not get as sharp an image inside the red box. Is everybody with me on that? So the edge is, if there's any play or any pull, this is going to might be slightly off. So you want to keep anything that's important in the middle of the red box. So let's say I draw I can't spell today. Drawing of player card king. Right. All right. So let's say I draw this line art, and it goes into super slow mode. All right. So this is my drawing of a queen. I've taken it into Photoshop or wherever. I'm just going to copy the image. So you see how the round curve goes back into here. So if I hand draw it, it gives it that more organic feel that we kind of lose sometimes when we start doing things real mechanically. Because we can kind of vary it up. Now there is a thing for your phone. If you have the full Adobe, it's called Adobe Capture. I would strongly suggest playing with that if you were interested. So. All right. All right, so basically if I wanted to have this would be my playing card. All right, don't write your name down there. So the idea is to design the different sets of playing cards. Now, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can use the original sets if that's something that you're interested in. Like this is the Queen of Hearts, obviously. Now, I would strongly suggest doing them in color. Don't do them in black and white like this one is. Mostly because you're going to be paying for printing for color anyway. And if you don't use it, it's still going to cost you the same amount. Now, if I was going to be doing this and say creating something like Magic the Gathering or something like that, I don't know if y'all know what that is, but it's a card game. And I would do background template. So here's my bleed edge. So if I want the cards to go over, boom, I would say edit, fill. And at this point, I would just fill with like a 50% gray. Drop the opacity down. I would set my center, and if you kind of move it around, it'll eventually show you where the center is. Oh wait, I have to deselect. Looks like that's about it. That's what it wants to jump to. And so this card is basically just over 3.5, so somewhere here. But I would go back to this, bring its opacity up. Opacity up. So I could go in and now, if I wanted to create, so this card would have an outer edge right there. I could create, this is the safe area. Go there, cut that out. Let's say I want a bottom box that's like in this 2/3 down here. I could say edit, fill, 50% gray. Actually, what I'll do is I'll go here and I'll say edit. And I'll fill all of that. Fill 50% gray. And then I can come in here and I can create. Just following along the same size so that they're the same thing. So I've got a box at the top and I can have a graphic there. If I want to have like hit points or something like that, I could set those up so that they're on the right lines. Now the advantage of this is where I've done this before, I've showed you this, I can come in, I can select it. I could go in and I could just on this layer put bevel emboss. And so now, maybe not that much, bring it down a little bit. That would give that card that little punch right there in the middle. So you could come in and do something. I could also go in at this point, I could say edit, fill with white. I could set a stroke on it so that my interior boxes, because remember it's going outside of the bleed. So the only stroke I'm going to get is the ones inside the box. So I want to set that up. Making sure it all stays. I probably have to stretch this a little bit to make sure that it didn't print right on the edge. But now I can go in and I could create a layer over top this one and then edit, fill with red. And I can say fill foreground color. Boom. And I can change this to color hue. Multiply, multiply. And then, so this is going to be like my red cards. And then I could duplicate this, fill it with blue. So when you see these like Pokemon cards or something like that, and they've got the same box, but then they've got different cards, this is how they do it. They go through that creation process. And they just make their master templates. So at this point, it would be the fire cards, fire card frame. And then this would be water card frame. Everybody with me? Now the advantage here is, say this was my graphic I was going to use and I wanted it just to be inside that box. I could go up here, magic wand the interior of the card and go back to her. Now in this case, because if I did it, I might have a little white edge around the outside, so I'm going to select, modify, expand, and I'll expand it 5 pixels. You notice it goes out a little bit into my frame, but if I go in here and I put a mask, now the fact that the frame is sitting on top of her, because it's at the top of my layers choices, you can't see the bleed where she goes outside of the frame box. The frame box covers it. Everybody with me? I'm in class. You just gonna walk in and start interrupt my class? Who told you? Yeah, you can use it. I don't care. Well, yeah, you're not an art student. Do you know how to use a Mac?
I'm gonna show you. I don't know. I need to use iTunes for my phone.
You need to use iTunes for your phone?
Yeah, because my phone.
I mean, if you've never used a Mac, it's going to be hard for you.
I know how to use it on my computer, but I don't have a login. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the login for art students is Fine Art. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording for a second.